What's up, YouTube? This is Insane Monster, and today we are doing What If Asta was the son of SCP-073, aka Cain. Now, if you've noticed on my channel, we've recently reached 300 subscribers. So as a special, we're going to be doing two different what ifs back to back, each with two parts. And they'll both be having a bit of a theme. So this will be a 300 subscriber special that will be spread out with 4 videos. And as you may have guessed, it's an SCP thing, with Asta being the son of Cain, and Deku, who is going to be the son of SCP-076, Abel. So, hope you enjoy. Oh, and for those who are wondering, the poll that was in the last video was more or less to see which of these two was going to be going up first, at least. After the next two, after this one, I'll do the 2 parts of Abel Deku, and then the lottery will begin same as usual. Now then, as for how Cain gets into the Black Clover universe, it's actually pretty simple. He ends up being in physical contact with another SCP, known as SCP-507, who is a guy with the ability to hop from one dimension to another, though it's involuntary. But when he does, Cain ends up in the Spade Kingdom, which, if you caught up with the manga and everything, hang on, quick warning, there will be a couple of spoiler alerts for all this, so yeah, there's that. So if you haven't been reading the Black Clover manga, you should probably leave right now. Okay, now that that's out of the way, now essentially, it's the same. It goes pretty simple. Cain wanders around, seeing the new world he finds himself in, until he sees that he's in some other world, because he's lived long enough to see the world in its entirety, and he doesn't know any of some of these strange animals, like I don't know, maybe giant boars with flames coming out of them, and a lot of the landscapes. Not to mention, it feels like he's in a completely different time than what he was when he was at the Foundation with all that technology. But eventually, he ended up meeting Asta's mom. One thing led to another, and Asta was born. Which, this is where the spoilers come in, as the Dark Triad were taking over the Spade Kingdom. They knew about Cain and thought he would be an excellent key to open the doorway to the Netherworld, considering the plants he goes near and anything made with plant life just decay practically instantly, and the land he walks on becomes barren. Obviously, Cain and his wife and others were taking Yuno and Asta out of there to hide them in the Clover Kingdom. But Asta's mom ended up getting injured pretty badly, and the attack went a bit further, even harming Asta. Cain started to freak out, saying, "No, no, no, no! I'm not losing you two." He holds Asta in his arms closely. His markings and the blue lights on his metal arms and legs began to glow brightly. He says, "I don't care what happens to me. I'm not going to let you die, Asta." Until a bright light just bursts from him. The marking on his forehead disappears. His metal arms and legs just crumble into bits and flow into Asta. Asta gained glowing blue and dark steel colored markings all over his body. As Abel fell to the ground, the others grabbed Asta and tried to help Abel, but he just had to run. As he was fading out, he saw the plant life in the ground around him. It was growing new plant life, and it was doing it at an incredibly rapid pace, like insane. When he took a look at his son, he saw that the blue markings on him across his body were glowing. And he said, as he looked up in the sky, "Thank you for sparing my son the, the curse of death." And when he passed out, his body began to rapidly age until it turned to dust. They didn't have much time to figure out what just happened, what's with Asta, and so they just ran. Since since the trail Cain was making of the destroyed plant life and the barren land stopped, they couldn't track them down anymore. Mostly because they didn't know that the curse that Cain received. And by the way, if you don't know who Cain is, it's like legit Cain from the story of Cain and Abel, the very first murderer in human history. As Cain killed his brother Abel, and in the SCP world, they both became cursed. But Cain, as the murderer, ended up causing any and all plant life to just die out. And the land he stepped on would no longer be able to support life. So no plants growing there anymore. But transferring it, but I guess transferring it to Asta, the person who cursed Cain didn't see a reason in cursing the innocent child for his father's sins. So he didn't take it away. He didn't take the anomalies away, but he adjusted them, even reversing Cain's ability to kill plant life and to render the land barren into enriching the land and and like amping up the plants he's around, their ability to grow to like the 11th degree, to where they even grow bigger and stronger than what they're supposed to. So they didn't really have much time to think about it or notice the plants rapidly growing as they passed by them for a short amount of time before they got out of range. Once they got to the church in Haas village, they left Asta and, there, along with a book, a special book that Cain had someone write for him. Since he couldn't come in contact with paper without it rotting away into dust, he had to get somebody to write it for him. He did it after he found out that his beloved was pregnant with Asta. Thought it might come in handy to explain, Cain himself. Then obviously the priest finds them uh, in the front of the church and takes them in. Asta is still pretty energetic and kicks the priest, though it's a lot harder now. Priest even spits out a tooth. Jeez, how? Since when are infants so freaking strong? Gets He goes to check on them and sees that the names on their little jumpers, and they grow up. As the years go by, Asta still saves Yuno from that guy that tried to take his pendant, though it goes very differently here. When he went to stop him, the man tried to punch Asta. When he landed, he ended up feeling the impact of his own punch happen, even spitting up blood, thinking, the hell happened? Asta still felt the pain, but he didn't take any damage. Instead, the damage that he would have taken was reflected onto the guy who caused it. Though this guy was pretty drunk, so he didn't know what was going on, so he just kept hitting and attacking Asta until he ended up with all the damage that he wanted to inflict on Asta onto himself, completely passing out in the middle of the snow-covered road. They hurried up, grabbed Yuno's pendant, and got out of there. Yuno said, "What the hell happened, Asta? What was that? Why was he getting hurt like that?" Asta just said, "I don't know. And honestly, I don't really care. I don't have any injuries, but I still felt the pain. I don't get this." They were running, but they soon found out that the drunkard wasn't completely knocked out. He fired a shot of magic right at them. It was going right for Yuno. Asta hurried up and grabbed Yuno, trying to pull him out of the way, but it was too late. Though, to his surprise, when it hit Yuno, it did hurt him, but the damage reflected back onto the old man. They were wondering, wait, Yuno, how did? Then they looked at where Asta was holding on to Yuno. The blue marks on Asta's arm were glowing and were spreading to Yuno. But the moment Asta let go, the marks that were on Yuno's just disappeared. It was like, what the hell? As for why this stuff is happening, I think it's self-explanatory. The sins of the father are not going to be bared by his son. So yeah, the powers are augmented to his benefit. Though there are a couple of things. For one, Asa can only do that trick he just did that saved Yuno from getting hurt if he's in two conditions. One, he has to be in physical contact with them, and two, he has to he needs the want to protect them, to help them, and all that. Those are the conditions. Now they get back and they tell Sister Lily and the priest what happened, which they're surprised. The priest just says, "Stop being ridiculous," and then he flicks Austin in the forehead for being crazy, which he just then feels the flick back on him. He says, what the? He looks at Asta saying, "Wait, you weren't kidding." The uh, about one or about a year later, Asta wanted to help out with the farming with the pot potatoes, which are just basically potatoes or potatoes. Sorry, I said it that way the first round because that's how my sister has a habit of saying it. Hey. But either way, um, basically, right when he stepped on the fields, the potatoes were rapidly multiplying. If you know how potatoes grow more potatoes, then you know what I'm talking about. But they were working, and the potatoes were growing rapidly underneath their feet without them noticing at first. Once they got it all planted, Asa just decided to sit down and relax, even take a nap, figuring that it wasn't going to harm anything since they were just planted. But unfortunately, the potatoes just kept rapidly multiplying, growing more and more potatoes, until Asta was buried by potatoes. When the villagers noticed this, they started to panic, trying to dig Asta out of the potato mountain. Even Sister Lily used her holy water fist thing to burst the potato mountain to show Asta so they can yank him out. They realized that the moment Asta got away from it, it stopped doing it. And when they saw the grass near Asta's feet, it just kept growing. So they were pretty surprised, but they didn't complain too much. They had a load of food, more than what they way more than what they needed, and way more than they could eat before they went bad. So every now and then they just have Asta take like a some walks in the pot potato farm fields, and it helps the village produce more so they can sell it to other towns and villages. So he does end up helping the village a good bit. Still, well, he still acts the same and all that, though nobody is. Everybody's still curious about why they don't sense magic from Asta. They think it might be some kind of plant magic, considering what happens when it's near them. So that's what they think initially, but they're not quite sure. Especially whenever if somebody accidentally hurts him, then they receive the injuries instead. So they don't know what to think. But he doesn't cause any real harm, so they don't really discriminate against him or anything like that. Of course, Asta still wants to be the Wizard King, and since he can't control the plants that he seems to be causing to rapidly grow, and he can't shoot any magic, he decides to train his body, like in canon, ridiculously. Though in this universe, he is taller. So there's that. And now we're at about Asta is like 12, and he decides to try to figure out his deal with the plants. So, but he knows that he probably shouldn't be in the village when he tries it. So he goes off into the area where the demon skeletal remains are. It shouldn't be too much trouble if he's doing it there. So he just sticks around and sees all the plants just rapidly growing incredibly fast around him. He spends some time there, and he actually noticed something. He noticed some people flying on the carpet. There was a girl with long brown hair that seemed about his age. A young boy that looked a little older with a bit of a headband, who for some reason had his hand on his head in a weird way, which he doesn't really get, along with two other guards, that looking people. They floated down to the skeletal remains to take a closer look. If you can figure out the long brown hair and the short haired guy with a headband thing and weird way of putting his hand on his face, head, and all that, then you know it's Mimosa and her older brother. They drop down and take a look at the skull up close. Then Mimosa noticed something, that the plants, they were big, like way bigger than what they should be. And I'm assuming that a plant magic user would notice this pretty easily. So she went exploring. She went exploring until she ran into Asta. He was where she saw all the plants around him just keep growing more and more and more to gigantic states. There was even a common flower that was bigger than both of them combined. He asked what was going on, and also asked if he did this. Asta just replied with, "Yeah, kind of. This is just what happens whenever I get near any form of plant. It could be a. It's just can't really control it. It just happens, and it doesn't just make them grow faster. It makes them grow bigger and stronger than what they're supposed to be. At least that's what everybody in the village tell me. Yeah, they just tell me that they're not that these plants aren't supposed to grow at these size, but when they're near me, they do it ever so quickly. Mimosa is pretty excited to see something like this. Then her brother comes around looking for her and sees Asta. He says, "A commoner? Step away from her." He grabs a rock and throws it at him. But the moment it hits him in the forehead, instead a gas opens on him. Now, I don't really care for that guy, so I didn't really bother memorizing his name. So I apologize for that, but whatever. Then he gets frustrated, saying, "What the hell was that?" He touches his head, and when he looks at his hand, he sees blood. "What did you do to me? Filthy commoner." He blasts his magic at Asta with him saying, "Wait, no, don't. If you do that, then..." He hits him in the arm, but although he feels the pain, the damage still goes back to Mimosa's brother, where he yells out. Then he notices the the spot where the rock hit him and the spot where he hit Asta with his magic. It's the same spot that the injury showed up. And he takes a closer look at him, seeing dark silver and blue marks all over him. He asks, "What the hell are you? Are you some kind of monster?" Mimosa just steps up and slaps her brother across the face, telling him to stop. "You're attacking somebody who hasn't even done anything to you or to me." Of course, he gets a little angry and says, "But he's a commoner. He's filth." Mimosa just looks at him. "And what about you, attacking someone who isn't even defending himself? Although it seems like even if he doesn't, he can still beat you." He looks at Asta with a ton of anger, which is when the guards come. They see the royal pain in the ass, injured, with Mimosa staring at him with angry eyes, and a commoner child with odd markings on near like absurdly grown plant life. They asked, "Lady Mimosa, did you cause these plants to grow like this? I didn't know your plant magic was so strong. And what happened to your brother? Did this commoner do this?" Mimosa just said, "No, I, no, I don't know. Well, no to both of them, except I'm not so sure on the second one. Uh, this boy, apparently, whenever he's near plant life, this happens. At least that's what he said." And they just see all the plant life still growing around Asta. And the further the plants are from Asta, the slower they're growing. All right. And what do you mean about the second part about his his highness's injuries? Well, Mimosa just said, "Well, he brother attacked him, but for some reason, it the spots where he got hit by brother's attacks ended up causing wounds in the same spot on him instead of uh, him. That she's just confused and doesn't know how to wrap her head around this. So the guards just stand in front of him saying, "Who are you, child? And what's going on?" Asta just says, "My name's Asta. I'm live in the village here, Hodge. And, well, sorry, stupid phone. Well, uh, well, it's something that's just about me. Whenever somebody attacks me, whether it's on purpose or anything, I any injuries that would go to me end up instead going to the person who attacks me. But that's all I know. I still feel the pain from it, but I don't bleed. I don't get hurt. I don't even get a scrape. I don't know why I'm like this. I just am. Mosa is pretty impressed. He doesn't need to do anything. No one can hurt him. And he breathes life into the plants with such insanity. And I mean that literally. Like, while all this going on, the flower that was once uh, the size of both of them combined has now grown even bigger to probably reach the past the top of the church. They said, Highnesses, we should probably go. Your wounds needs to be treated, and I'm not sure what to make of this boy. We'll give a report to the Wizard King later. So they just end up walking away. Mimosa looking back at him. But Asta said, "Wait, who are you guys anyways?" Mimosa's brother pompously introduces himself, which then Mimosa kindly introduces herself as Mimosa Vermilion and says, "Your name's Asta, right?" But he just says, "Yeah, I am." And as they go, she said, "Maybe we'll meet again someday. If you have these kinds of abilities, I'm sure you'll make it into the capital with the Magic Knights, and no problem." And they just walk away. Obviously, Mimosa's brother is pissed and has a bit of a grudge on him, but Mimosa finds him pretty interesting. He's never met anybody whose presence could cause something like that to their surroundings, or who could reflect the damage from enemies' attacks onto the onto the enemies that caused them. So she was excited that she met someone so interesting. So we only at about 28 minutes into this, so I'll keep going for a little bit longer. So they, life goes on, and Asta's pretty freaking buff, like in canon, though a little bit more. And they still can't figure out what's with Asta. They they don't sense any magic from him, but something about him causes some weird stuff. They can't even tell what's with the markings on him. While the dark silver markings seem like a perfect combination of skin and metal. And the blue markings are like tattoos, but they glow every now and then. So they're not sure what to think. But some people believe that he might have some kind of curse of that fills his body with life energy, so much so that it leaks out into the plant around him. And but they're not sure about the damage reflection. And every time somebody tries to recall something, they always go ask Asta if if he was there to see it. He does have perfect photographic memory. So they go to him to settle disputes about things that happened in the past. In case, some people, if they're bored, they just argue. So he became more or less the one who ended up ending the arguments there. The village was doing pretty good considering that Asta was helping with the potato farming, causing them to grow and multiply a lot faster. So everything was going pretty well for Hodge, all things considered, being in the Forsaken realm. But we get to the point where Asta and Yuno are in canon and all that, and Asta in this one doesn't have a crush on Sister Lily. Oh, they see Asta and Yuno as some prides of Hodge, though they're worried that they might have some issues when Asta in, ends up leaving if Asta ends up leaving Hodge to join the Magic Knights, considering that their farming, their excess of farming potatoes that they sell to the other villages would cause a problem if they stopped. So there was that in the back of everybody's mind, but they figured that it would be okay, that Todd's village still got by just fine even without someone like him around. So there's that. And then we get to the day of where Asta and Yuno get their grimoires. People are looking at Asta, wondering about his marks, and even about his blue eyes that are practically glowing. Well, they are kind of glowing, but at a bit of a level that people just think it's how his eyes are when they reflect light. So something felt off to Asta. He felt something here, something odd. And what he was feeling was the five-leaf clover grimoire. Asta's anomalous abilities ended up arousing the anti-magic demon in the five-leaf grimoire curiosity. He was thinking, what is this kid? Definitely not a normal human. He's somewhat human, but I can't really pin down what he is. But there's no magic. But there's still some presence, a powerful presence. Looks like I found a perfect user. As he smirks, thinking, if he wields the swords, then those bastards won't be able to stop us. So the grimoire ceremony goes as normal. Yuno gets his four-leaf, and everybody sees that Austin doesn't get a grimoire. They start laughing, and Yuno's just looking, thinking, what the hell? And Asta's just clenching his fists, thinking, what's going on? Wasn't I supposed to get a grimoire? But then it all stopped when they heard some loud banging. And then another loud bang, until they saw a grimoire bursting from the walls, going straight for Asta. With a glowing black and red aura kind of deal with it, Asta just grabs it. And then instantly he realizes this is what the weird thing he felt ever since he got near this place was. He opened it up to look through it and saw language he had no clue what it was. No, he, after everybody calmed down and were looking at their own grimoires comparing, Asta just walked up to the old man who looked over the grimoire tower and asked him, "Hey, have you ever seen this language? I don't recognize it. The old man looks at it and says, not sure. I never seen this in my whole life. And trust me, I've had a long life. You don't get hair this white and long overnight. So there wasn't much to do about it. Though now the chain mage, saw two potential targets. A grimoire with an unknown language in it, never before seen, even by the even by the man who watches over the grimoire tower, and a four-leaf clover grimoire. Uh, Obviously, the two nobles still go after which takes care of them pretty easily. But Austin's there just hanging back, watching, thinking, I think you might have overdid that. Then the chain mage just comes at them. He attacks binding him and taking his grimoire. Asta was able to dodge some of the chains when they tried to capture him. The chain mage saying, so annoying. You're a fast one, aren't you? Yes, if I can't take your grimoire by chaining you, I'll have to bang you up a little bit. He goes and uses his chains for a serious attack, hitting Asta in the shoulder. Pretty good. He feels the pain, but like normal, the damage is received by the chain mage, with him screaming in pain and agony. So much so that the chains holding disappear because he lost his concentration. He yells, what the hell happened? What did you do? What is this? He panics, panting, and says, enough. He starts charging up a large magic attack, which is when Asa's grimoire started to glow and open up, revealing the Demon Slayer sword. Landing right in front of Asta, he takes it, feeling an odd sensation. He been thinking, is someone here? It feels like, wait, is someone or something in this? What the hell is this magic? And the chain mage just says, be gone! As he launches all kinds of chains at Asta. And with a single swipe of the Demon Slayer sword, the chain mage's magic is destroyed. Asta blitzing right towards him, hitting him with the sword, embedding the chain mage into the wall. And if we go check on the anti-magic demon in the grimoire, he's smirking, saying, oh, I found a truly perfect wielder. Though it seems as though my presence doesn't really affect him. Normally a human in contact with a demon would end up being cursed with Weg. This kid, it doesn't even touch him. My power can flow through him freely, and he won't be corrupted by Weg. If you don't know what the curse of Weg is, go read the manga. But if you're still watching, then you heeded my advice about people who don't want spoilers and all that to just go. But back to the what if. Also thinking, this is incredible. I mean, did it destroy his magic? Just walks in, grabs his grimoire, saying, well, that's my rival for you. And obviously, they still do that fist bumping things, saying that one of us is going to be the Wizard King. And that will be where we end this what if. Now, like I said before, once once the next part of this comes out, after that, we will start the What If Deku Was the Son of SCP-076, which is Abel. So there's that to look forward to. Once we get to the second video of the Abel Deku, then the polls will resume the same as usual. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and please enjoy yourselves. Have a good night.